Welcome back to the Cruise Dynasty podcast. Doing it again. Talking some football, the fake stuff. I ain't said that in a while. Craft man, what it do, man?
Man, just been working hard, but been talking to folks on the phone about fantasy all day long. Like, just can't get enough of this shit. And we got football tomorrow, man. We got the Texans and the Patriots preseason. So we might get to see a little CJ Stroud tomorrow.
Yeah, man, preseason. Everybody just trying to survive the preseason, man. Hoping your players stay healthy. I know I do, man. I be getting bit every year by the preseason. Just hold your breath. And just hopefully it all works out.
Yeah, just wait to do your drafts like as late as possible. As late as possible. Try to avoid all these injuries, because it seems like it's something new every single day.
So me and Craft, man, we just sticking with the same. We're going to do some redraft. Given that redraft content, we talking wide receivers. The hardest thing to rank, in my opinion, is these wide receivers, especially after you get through these top names and you start getting to your wide receiver twos. It just gets wild, man. I don't even know. I want to throw some sleepers in there, but then I don't want to throw these guys back too far. Decisions, man. Wide receivers are tough, man. What you say, Craft?
Yeah, I mean, wide receiver position is just so volatile all the time. It's like, do you want some guys that are gonna, be a PPR guy and is safe, like a Amon-Ra or something, or do you want to try to shoot for the next big thing that showed a lot of promise last year? It's just tough when you get in your drafts trying to figure out what direction you want to head and how many shots you want to take.
Agreed. And shoot, tonight we don't have consensus rankings. Me and Kraft's just going to go through what we got. But we was kind of talking about them before the episode. We got a lot of similarities and stuff. Hey, Kraft, I guess we'll just dive on right in. You got anything else to say before we do this shit?
Nope. No, we're good to go.
All right, man. Back at it again. Redraft rankings, wide receiver number 1. We both got Justin Jefferson. Enough said. Tier 1. Yeah, tier 1. I mean, probably going 101 in your drafts. Now, I have made this statement, and I do stand by this statement. There is I do believe there's 6 or 7 people you could take at your 101s. Maybe not 7, but there's just a few players, like 5, 6 players, where if you took them at the 101, I'm good with it. But I'd be willing to bet Justin Jefferson 101 in just about every one of your leagues, unless they went CMC.
I mean, I would take Justin Jefferson 101 anyway. This guy is just incredible. The Vikings have a terrible defense, so they're going to have to throw the ball. Probably even more this year. He had over 1,800 yards last year. I mean, I just think we're no injury history, but I just think we're seeing like the next Antonio Brown greatness year in and year out from Justin Jefferson. I mean, he could put up the most receiving yards of all time before the age of 25 years old. So there really just isn't any question marks around Justin Jefferson. Just take him. He's not going to bust. He's going to be great. Everything's just looking up.
Yep. It looks like the Vikings, they're going to be throwing the ball some more this year. They add Jordan Addison over there. But my thing is I think it could get even better. I mean, this defense is shitty. The defense is not that good. Kirk Cousins is going to be airing it out this year. I mean, I don't know. Is it possible to do better than what he did last year? I mean, he was great last year, but here we are again. I mean, he's like the safest one. He's safe, and the upside is like ridiculous. So,
and I'm just hoping Jordan Addison is good enough just to take a little bit of pressure off of Jefferson. I mean, the only way I could see him, he's not going to fail, but if he, just doesn't perform as much as we think he will is mainly based on if Jordan Addison is just terrible and they can just double team him all year long, and there's just not another threat in that offense. Like if Madison doesn't really pan out to be that great, still got Osborne there, but I think Jordan Addison is going to take, and T.J. Hawkinson is going to take enough attention away from Justin Jefferson, so he may not get double teamed and triple teamed, and he can have a little free reign out there.
And if you ask me, I think Jordan Addison, I think he's going to finish highest among the rookies. So I think what you're saying is hoping that he could take some pressure off of Justin Jefferson. I think that I'm predicting it happens. I think it'll definitely happen. So yep. Justin Jefferson won. Next, we'll move on to old Jamar Chase. I think you got Jamar Chase at 2. I got him at 3. Is that correct? So, I mean, Jamar Chase was on a super high pace just last year, but I think he was out 4 or 5 games, something like that. If you look at the eye test, Jamar Chase is literally right there with Justin Jefferson. So, any concerns about with Joe Burrow? Because now that I know he limped on off, usually I'm always like, I don't really care. Some people are acting like this might go in through the season. I'm going to say I doubt it, and I'm not worried at all. I would take Jamar Chase no matter what.
Yeah.
What you say, Crab?
I mean, Jamar Chase did say himself, like, he thinks he wants Joe Burrow to sit out until, like, week 5 and make sure he's all right.
Right.
But Joe Burrow probably isn't going to do that. It's just a calf strain. I mean, you don't really want to start the season off with an injury, but he has a whole month to recover from a calf strain. I mean, Aaron Rodgers played with a calf strain every week for, week after week. So I think Joe Burrow is too big of a competitor to be sitting out for 5 weeks. That's a long time.
Last year, Jamar Chase, he averaged 18 fantasy points a game. Well, this is a half PPR that I'm looking at right here. But, yeah, I think the reason why I don't ever put him up at number 1, I always keep him behind Justin Jefferson, and in this case, Cooper Kupp is because I think T. Higgins, he's just good enough to have his games too. And it's not like, with like A.J. Brown and Devontae, like I'm high on Devontae too, but I got A.J. Brown down there like a little bit below 5. Like Jamar Chase, I still keep him up there, at the top of the tops. If you took him at the 101, I wouldn't be mad at you either. I mean, I could see him putting up one of these Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp seasons too.
Yep, that's exactly what I think his best year is still to come. He hasn't had his best year yet. If you were to take Jamar over Justin Jefferson, even in a redraft, I wouldn't blame you. T. Higgins is going to take a little bit away, but even with Jamar Chase missing a couple games last year, I think he missed about 3 or 4 games last year.
Yep.
So,
yeah,
he was still 4th in the league in red zone targets. He had 26 red zone targets. That's only behind Metcalf, Jefferson at 28, and Travis Kelce. So he's going to be in the end zone over 10 times. If you were to ask me, I think he's going to have a tremendous year. My main thing with Chase is if Cooper Kupp didn't have the hamstring thing, and I try not to look too much into it, but I would probably have Kupp a little bit higher. But these top guys are just interchangeable to me.
Right. Yeah, Chase, he missed 4 games, and then they had that game with Buffalo. So really kind of missed 5 games last year. Or he missed 4, and then the one got delayed or canceled or whatever. So, yep, I'm with you. I mean, there's really not much to say about Jamar Chase either. Competitive team, all that good stuff. So you got him at 2. I got him at 3. Next, we'll go to Cooper Kupp. I got Cooper Kupp at 2. Where you got Cooper Kupp?
I got him at 3.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and say this. Cooper Kupp, I'm not, you know how it is. All this stuff right here, I'm not really paying too much attention to. All these injuries, all these holdouts from running backs. I'm just going into the season as is, thinking it'll all work itself out before it goes. I got Cooper Kupp at 2, but if his hamstring is bothering him, I would drop him below. I would drop him to 4 and possibly 5, I think. But he would still stay in my top 5. But Cooper Kupp, I've made my case in previous episodes. This year, I think I think it's going to be crazy. And I think it does depend on Matthew Stafford's health. But with that said, the Rams to me aren't going to be that good this year. Their defense is not going to be that good this year. I don't think they're going to be playing ahead in a lot of games. I think they'll be playing from behind, so I think they'll be throwing the ball a lot. Which is like reasons I don't believe in Cam Akers and stuff like that. Cooper Kupp has no other receivers out there to worry about. I mean, we got Van Jefferson, Higbee's out there, Puka
Yeah,
Nakua in the building. Uh,
nothing to worry about.
and we already know Matthew Stafford is out there hyper targeting Cooper Kupp. I mean, Cooper Kupp was averaging like 23 fantasy points a game last year. Still finished in the top 24, and he only played 9 games last year. I mean,
Yeah,
there's an argument for Cooper Kupp to be number one. I would put him at 2 behind Justin Jefferson. If you took him at the 101, I wouldn't do it now though with the hamstring news. But if you took him at number 1, I wouldn't be mad at you. But like I said, I got him at 2. Barring the hamstring injury, I could drop him to 5, 4 or 5.
yep. I mean, in the games he played last year, 22.4 fantasy points per game. That was higher than anybody else. Jefferson was at 21.7, so he was still doing his thing. And I'm usually a little scared of drafting receivers who don't have a second option on their team. Like Cooper Kupp in his breakout year, he had Robert Woods there to kind of take a little bit of pressure off when Robert Woods was still pretty good. But last year he didn't have Woods. He was still doing the same thing. Sean McVay's a great offensive mind, and you can move him around in the slot. You can move him outside. So they're going to scheme ways for him not to face the double teams. And one question I got to ask you about, like Stafford. We got Tyreek Hill ranked right after Cooper Kupp. He's the next guy on the list. Both of these
Right.
guys got quarterback questions of health. Which quarterback are you more concerned about with their health, Tua or Stafford?
To me, it's Stafford. I just think I know with the Tua, it just like I don't know if I'm just in denial or I'm stubborn, but it's just hard for me to believe that this dude's gonna be stop. He's gonna stop playing football because of concussions. Like I'm not saying he ain't gonna get concussions and miss time next year, but I will say this: if Tua gets one concussion, I mean
Yeah.
he's on watch. They're gonna watch his every move. Stafford though, I'm more worried about Stafford. He's older. This dude's got like what was it? Like neck and spinal cord type deals.
Yeah, like spinal contusion or something like that. And their offensive line's really bad too. So
Yeah.
and you're saying that they're gonna have to throw the ball a lot. So you got a bad offensive line. They're gonna be losing games. He's probably gonna take he's gonna take some licks this year. So that is something to worry about. But they got Stetson Bennett, man. And
Right.
Cooper Kupp is just gonna keep going off with old Stetson Bennett.
This right here is like a high risk, high reward type thing. Like I think this one is like this situation, the Cooper Cup Stafford is a little more risky than other situations, but the reward could be better than every one of them, even higher than Justin Jefferson. So that's what fantasy is all about, taking that risk.
But
Heck,
we don't really have like the risk uh reward type thing in here. Would you possibly just take Tyreek Hill? I know you got Cooper Cup ranked ahead, but that's not counting in the risk. That's just the way we think the statistics are going to go based on nobody getting injured or anything like that. So, would you take Tyreek over Cooper Cup just to try to avoid that question mark?
mm, it's tough. I'm gonna be honest, it's tough. I mean, maybe I wouldn't just because Tyreek Hill has another iffy situation. But the thing is with Tyreek Hill is even with all these backups, the man was still producing. So I don't know. That's a tough one. I'm gonna have to sleep on that one. I ain't gonna lie. But it's like I said, these top 4 wide receivers. I mean, you can interchange all 4 of them. And I've even talked myself into Stephon Diggs up there in that little tier like that too. So well, we'll just go ahead and move on to Tyreek Hill. He was our wide receiver 2 last year, and if you thought he was going to slow down because he didn't have Patrick Mahomes,
Which
dead
we did.
wrong. I did. I know I did. I was calling, he got paid, into his career is coming. That's what I was saying. Nah. Even with him saying he's going to retire in like 3 years, I wouldn't even care, man. I'll take Tyreek Hill all day. I know we're talking redraft, but last year he was the wide receiver too. I'm looking at the game log now. We're talking about 36 points, 20 points, 23, 25, 23, 25, 22. I mean, all through. I mean, we're talking. I mean, shoot, Kraft, we're talking 12 targets, 13, 14, 15, 13, 14, 14, 10. I
Hey,
mean, Tyreek Hill
the-
is just great. There's
yeah,
nothing else to say about it. He's just great. He even has Waddle over there. Um, even when Tyreek Hill was playing with these backups, he was still out there playing good. So
he
not too
just
much to say about him.
they're gonna get the ball in his hands. 170 targets last year. That's the most in his career coming over from Kansas City. I was dead wrong about Tyreek. I think I probably had him ranked outside of my top 10 last year. Didn't really work out that way. I just love watching him play. He's one of them guys that you just want to draft, and he's going to be great. Plus, he's just fun as hell to watch on Sunday. So just don't avoid Tyreek Hill. I hope people
Yeah,
do avoid him because I'm drafting at the
yeah,
109, and I'm like, y'all just keep on taking other people, and somebody draft Kelsey or something. Maybe somebody be dumb and draft Mahomes or something crazy. Just let Tyreek Hill drop to me at the 109, and I'll just automatic.
yeah. Tyreek Hill, man. I haven't seen it. I've been doing a lot of best ball, and I haven't seen it happen yet. But if y'all picked him number one, I wouldn't even be mad at you for that. I mean, I would put Tyreek Hill right up in here with any of these guys on this list. The offense, smooth offense, Mike Daniels. Well, what about you though, Kraft? I thought you were saying that maybe the Dolphins were getting a little. Was it the Dolphins? You were saying they might have been getting a little figured out by the back half of the year.
Yeah, I don't have any statistics to back it, but just watching the games, I mean, Tua, he had his concussion, so that might have had something to do with it. But when he came back, I did feel like that they were getting a little figured out. Their offense was so impressive at the start of the year, but towards the end of the year, you know, I think teams were starting to force Tua to throw it a little bit outside of the numbers. But Tyreek, he's he's invincible to that kind of stuff. He was still putting up numbers with Skylar Thompson, so you
Right.
know he'll be just fine. I mean, if you ever watch him play, it's just fun to watch, man. Can't nobody tackle the man. He's just 10 times. I don't care what the 40 times say. Tyreek Hill's the fastest player to ever play in the NFL.
You ain't told a lie yet. I mean, any any like hold back from like Jalen Waddle? Does Jalen Waddle hold you back from Tyreek even a little bit?
No, Tyreek Hill was
Me
the
neither.
wide receiver 2 last year, and Jalen Waddle was a wide receiver 8. So
Yeah.
I mean,
And Waddle cooled down. He started cooling down with these backups. So it's like this man Tua was supporting like two top five receivers.
he was. Yeah, they were all eating when Tua was in there before his concussions.
Every time we get on the pod and we start talking this stuff, we start talking about Tua a little bit. We turn it into the Tua. We're gonna have to do a little my guy type deal. Tua's got to be on that list right there. Talk
Gonna
me
have to
into it
be.
big time. All right. Well, look, I got Stephon Diggs at 5. You got Stephon at 5.
Yes, I do.
So pretty much we got the same top 5 except for we switched Cooper Kupp and Jamar Chase. Stephon Diggs. Now listen, Stephon Diggs was the wide receiver 4 last year. He's on an explosive offense with the quarterback that's probably getting picked second in redraft leagues, possibly third, I guess. And this is one thing I want to say. I feel like there's a lot of people out, maybe not a lot of people out there kind of fading Stephon Diggs because of some off-season news, and he wants to be, what did he say, more involved in the play calling offense. So basically, Kraft, this is what I want to say. This dude was getting targets of 9, 15, 11, 11, 13, 10, 16, 15. We're talking about so many targets, and he wants the ball some more.
He
Man,
does.
in fantasy, man, I'm eating this up all day. I mean, this is easy. I don't know why you would think, okay, there he's complaining a little bit. I don't give a fuck. I'm just gonna be honest. I would take. I mean, every time I sit here and think about Stephon Diggs, I just wonder if I could move him up even higher above these guys because this dude's getting all these targets, like double-digit targets all the time. And he wants the ball more,
Yeah.
say less.
Yeah, over his 3 years in Buffalo, he's averaged about 100. It's not the exact number, but about 160 targets a year, and he's averaging about 12 yards per catch. So I look at running backs. We talk about opportunity all the time with carries and just total opportunities. 160 targets is going to get you a top 5 receiver. I mean, unless you're just absolutely terrible. He's up there with that upper echelon of receivers as far as that goes, with just the work he's going to get and the looks he's going to get. They brought in Kincaid, which could help, but, they didn't. I was worried they might bring in Hopkins or something like that, but Gabe Davis is not going to be a target hog. He's not that. Kincaid will get a little bit. Stephon Diggs is still the best receiver by far on that offense for Josh Allen, the number 2 fantasy quarterback. So, it's no question. The only question I have for you, and I've been struggling like hell with this. Like I said, I'm drafting like the 108 to 110 spot in some leagues. Stephon Diggs, Bijan, or Saquon?
Ooh,
You
man,
got to
that's so
think.
tough, man. That is so tough. You know, I listened to other podcasts and they were talking about Bijan, and then I started wanting to move Bijan. Everybody just, I don't know, man. I'll be honest, Kraft. I think I would go Stephon, but that's super tough, man. I don't even know. It would just be hard to pass up. Mm, that's a tough question, Kraft. I think I'd go Stephon, but that one's super tough. Really can't go wrong, though.
Well, we'll put it in like a grouping for the second round. So, would you rather start off with like Stephon, maybe Derrick Henry, or would you rather start off with like Saquon, Garrett Wilson?
Ooh, damn.
I'm telling you, it's tough, man. I just don't know.
You just can't go wrong. It feels like this year's draft is like, I don't know. I don't view it like I don't know. Last year it just seemed like, cause like wasn't like Najee and Joe Mixon and stuff in the first round and stuff. Felt
Yeah,
like there was some people you wanted to avoid, but I don't want to avoid anybody in the first round or the back half, or let's see, that first half of the second. That's just tough, man. I just
it
can't even
really
say.
is.
I might would go Stephon and Derrick Henry though.
If Henry falls, it might be like Stephon Pollard.
I mean, hey, y'all are high. I got Pollard in my top 10. That ain't really bad
Yeah,
either, though.
yeah.
But Saquon and Garrett Wilson, though,
Pretty sexy too, man.
that's some tough
I still can't
decisions.
decide. I just still can't decide. I know Stephon, he pretty much makes it to me every single time. So,
Yeah. I'm with you, man. Crap, that's just a tough decision. We're gonna have to throw out some mock drafts for these people and see what we could do. But all right, let's move on, man, because this is where to me there's like a legit tier break. Like there could have been some tier breaks in that first 5 we just did. If you just to recap it, we had Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, and Stephon Diggs, and both of our top 5s. Kraft had Jamar Chase at 2, and I had Cooper Kupp at 2. So pretty much the same thing. To me, here's another tier right here. For some reason, I've been grouping CD and AJ Brown in one list in one set, and then I always do Amon-Ra and Garrett Wilson in another one. But we'll just do AJ Brown first. You got AJ Brown at 6.
yep.
I got him at 7. I mean, it's like it's just another thing. It's just like AJ Brown finished as the wide receiver 6 last year according to Sleeper. Jalen Hurts got it going. The Eagles got it going. Devontae Smith's over there. Dallas Goedert. I mean, this is one of the best offenses in the league. I kind of think it'll do the same thing. I don't like I do wonder if it's gonna fade a little bit because I always am wary of the team that loses in the Super Bowl and shoot, really, the team that wins the Super Bowl. These teams that are in the Super Bowl, they usually like to fade off. But Cincinnati didn't do that last year, and I was saying that we were drafting these Bengals at their peak and stuff like that. I wonder a little bit if we're doing that with the Eagles, but AJ Brown's just so damn good and so great.
Yeah.
It's just you're not. I mean, I can't go wrong either way. I guess my question is AJ? Is there any debate of throwing AJ Brown in that top tier up there, or because my thing is there's just a lot of weapons on the Eagles. Like even Goddard, he'll get involved. They're gonna run the ball. Jalen Hurts is gonna run the ball. It's just a lot of stuff. So AJ Brown, I've always said it. He's gonna have his games where he just goes the fuck off, but he's gonna have his weeks where he's not really doing shit. So, but not to say that he's bad or anything, but Devontae Smith might have a couple touchdowns and stuff like that. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, I mean, his reception numbers ain't necessarily up there. I think we play half PPR and most of the redraft we do. So if it's full PPR, I think I would put CD ahead of AJ Brown just by a little bit. But AJ Brown's just a big play guy. I mean, he'll put up 35 points in a week easily. I mean, we had this big argument with Dunk, especially in Dynasty, CD or AJ Brown, and we both said CD, and we got your ass, Dunk. CD had 17.7 points per game last year. AJ Brown had a measly 17.6 points per game last year. So one up on me and Matt. But yeah, these guys are. I don't think he belongs in the tier with Diggs and the other guys we talked about. But 17 yards per reception, he's incredible. And maybe the Eagles will have to throw the ball a little bit more in the second half this year. He still had 145 targets last year, which is very high for him. And maybe they'll play in some more competitive games, and they can't really double this guy. I mean, you got to stack the box against that offensive line and that run game. You got Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. I mean, there's nothing you can really do when you face the Eagles to slow down this offense.
What you think about Philly? Think they got a chance to go back to the Super Bowl, do it again? I mean, they could. The NFC really ain't that good.
Yeah, I mean, I do. Just based on sometimes I think it might be a fluke, and I usually don't go right after the team that went right to the Super Bowl, but it's just their offensive line really that does it for me. They just push people around, and they can really do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, I'm with you. Eagles, man, I'm still buying it. Man, it's crazy. I always say you got it. I mean, I don't always say it. I think statistics say it. The team that loses in the Super Bowl, I think they have a hard time getting to the playoffs the next year. And the Bengals didn't do that last year, and I don't really see Philly not making the playoffs this year. I mean, they'll have to get banged up. Something crazy would have to happen, it feels like. But
Rams had a tough time making it back.
Yep. They sure did. They ain't making they done too. Well, let's see. Tampa Bay, they didn't do good after they did. Well, nah, they did. They made it to the playoffs and then lost to the Rams that year. All right. Next, let's move on to C.D. Lamb. I got him at 6. You got him at 7. Is that right, Kraft?
Yep.
All right. So C.D. Lamb, this is my thing. I think people are fading C.D. Lamb because of the offensive coordinator change, mostly, is what I'm thinking. Because of comments of McCarthy talking about we're gonna run what did he say? We're gonna run the ball or scoring too many points, something foolish like that. But my thing is this, and all their offseason moves, I've said this probably on 3 or 4 episodes. None of their moves during the offseason have even remotely suggested that they're about to be running the ball. They haven't added any running back depth. They bring in Brandon Cooks. Michael Gallup's gonna be here. Second year off the ACL. Dalton Schultz is out the building. I know Dak Prescott liked to target him a little bit. To me, that just screams CD to the moon. I stand by what I said. I've always said I want CD to have another receiver out there to help him out a little bit, take the load off. Kind of like what we were saying with Justin Jefferson earlier. This year, Brandon Cooks is supposedly going to be that guy. I was listening to a podcast. I don't even know. I listened to so many of them. I can't even remember who said it, but they were saying that they weren't buying into the Cowboys running the ball more, but maybe the pace of play was going to be a little less because under Kellen Moore, they were chunking the rock, which is a reason why I'm super high on Justin Herbert coming up and all those Chargers guys. But even so, CD Lamb 6 just doesn't seem that bad to me. I mean, I just put him in that same tier with AJ Brown. For some reason, when it comes to fantasy, they don't play like each other in real life. In real football, I'm taking AJ Brown all day, but in fantasy football, I'm leaning CD. CD finished ahead of him last year. I think he could do it again.
Yeah, he's just damn good too. I mean, I remember watching the playoff. I think it was a playoff game between Tampa Bay and Dallas, and or maybe it was the 49ers. I think it was the 49ers in Dallas last year with that crazy good defense, and he was just making incredible catch after incredible catch. And I was like, he's just a real dude. But to go back on what you said about the pace of play, Dallas was 8th in the league in plays per game last year. So, I take that with Mike McCarthy saying they need to run more. That's the way I think they're going. Is they're just going to slow things down a little bit, which could be a little detrimental to CeeDee Lamb a little bit, but it's not going to be enough where I think he's going to be outside of the top 10. I mean, I think the Jets are going to slow down their offense with Aaron Rodgers there and Garrett Wilson. So, but if you're the guy, you're the guy, and you're gonna get plenty of work. So, wheels up with CD Lamb. There's no worries with drafting him. Where he's going.
No concerns from us. All right, let's go on to the next. I think we're gonna talk about old Devontae Adams because you got Devontae Adams at 8, Kraft. Is that right?
I got Garrett Wilson at 8.
All right, well, we'll just do Devontae Adams real quick, anyways. I got Devontae Adams at 12. I guess the reason why I'm moving on to Devontae's 8th in ADP right now, going 16.9. I got him at 12. You got him at where did you say, Kraft? I know you just said, but my dumb ass.
I got who? Devontae Adams?
Yeah, where you got him?
I got Adams at 9.
All right, look, man, and this is the reason why I have faded him a little bit, and I really don't even want to draft him. It just smells like a shit stank storm up there in Las Vegas right now. They got fucking problems with Josh Jacobs. They move on from Derek Carr. They bring in Jimmy G. I'm not sure that is gonna be good for Devontae Adams, and throwing the ball and going deep. Because Devontae Adams was going deep last year. Derek Carr was slinging it deep to him. That's not what Jimmy G does. So, is Devontae Adams great? Hell fucking yeah. Is he still probably the top 2 or 3 wide receiver in real football? I would say yes. But in fantasy this year, I just don't like. I mean, I just don't even like McDaniels. I just don't like nothing that's going on in Vegas. Growing up, I'm big on organizations being buttoned up. I think I was on a phone call with P. Miller, and it's like in recent history, it feels like even more than recent history, it feels like the Raiders are one of the most unbuttoned up teams in the league, organizational wise. Period. And I just don't like what's going on there right now, and I've just got to fade Devontae Adams. I mean, I think it could get real bad. But then again, I could be wrong, and he could finish. I mean, what was he to finish? Where did he finish last year? I can't even remember.
Wide receiver 3.
So he could do the same thing, and I would be dead wrong, and just because of his greatness. But I could see this going real bad.
Yeah, I could. I don't know if I'd say it could go really bad because he's just such a crazy good receiver. But he averaged 15.2 yards per reception last year, which is not his normal. He usually averages about 12 yards per reception. 180 targets is great. 100 receptions, but if you were to dissect that a little bit and say he goes back down to that 12 yards per reception, you can subtract 300 yards off of that total, which would put him at about 1,200 yards. So that's going to put him down there at about the wide receiver 10, the wide receiver 8. And he had 14 touchdowns last year also to help his case. So you bring them numbers down a little bit, maybe 10 touchdowns. he's not going to get 15 yards per reception with Jimmy Garoppolo. That's not happening.
No.
Might be his all-time low this year. I could see it, going down to 10 yards per reception. So, and like we said, the target numbers were still there. He was second in the league in targets. He was number one in the league in target share with let me see, 32% target share last year. To put that in perspective, Justin Jefferson had 28%, 28.7% target share. So, I just see a lot of these things coming down, especially, like I said, yards per reception. And if he ends up around 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns, Amari Cooper last year, 1,160 yards, 9 touchdowns. He was the wide receiver 10. So that's about that's where I got him ranked, and that's where I see him landing.
Yeah, last year he had games with 17 targets, 10, 13, 17, 14, 13, 11. So Derek Carr was definitely hyper-targeting this guy, and it was paying off. I want y'all to remember those target numbers right there when we talk about Chris Olave later in this episode. But let's move on, man, because we'll move on to this next tier, because I mean, it might not even be a tier for you, but it's just a little tier for me, because I was debating Amon-Ra and Garrett Wilson. And so we're going to talk about Garrett Wilson. And listen, there's only one reason why I've got Garrett Wilson below Amon-Ra, and really Garrett Wilson below A.J. Brown and CD, because I don't really know what the Jets are about to be like this year. I'm just going to be honest. I was kind of off, and then now I see Aaron Rodgers taking pay cuts, and it seems like everybody's getting serious up there in New York. But it's this one's a tough one, because I could see Garrett Wilson getting those targets that Devontae Adams was getting with Aaron Rodgers all those years, and this dude being like a top. I mean, a lot of people are predicting he's about in Dynasty. He's about to jump in that Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase tier right there. And I'm not saying that it can't happen, but I'm just a little bit. I'm not gonna say doubtful, but I'm just skeptical. Not all the way skeptical though, because I think it'll still be good for Garrett Wilson. But I mean, what are the Jets really about to do? And their defense was good. They're just going to be they're just going to win games totally different than the way I see like Amon-Ra in Detroit, where you expect them to be in shootouts. Their defense is terrible. The Jets, their division is solid and their defense is great. Aaron Rodgers is going to be controlling the ball, line of scrimmage. You were talking about their pace slowing down. To me, that's what it looks like is going to happen. So I got them at 9, which ain't bad, but I feel like once I post these out there on Twitter and stuff, they ain't going to like that shit. So, what you say, Kraft?
Yeah, I got him at 8, and I just moved him ahead of Devontae Adams before the episode, just because in my mock drafts, I'm trying to take the guy who's going to could be top 3. Like this is a guy I just see breaking out. When we did our wide receiver episode, from the dynasty perspective, I mentioned that if you get over 900 yards as a rookie, every single one of them in that 2021 year ended up as a wide receiver 1 last year. Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Jamar Chase, all that good stuff. So I just see Garrett Wilson not finishing outside of the top 12. And I didn't watch the Hall of Fame game, but I turned it on for about 10 minutes, and it was during Aaron Rodgers' interview. And he was out there talking about Garrett Wilson. He said, "Man, he sure reminds me of another 17 I played with." He said, "Ain't nobody as good as Devontae, but I see a lot of similarities with this guy, and he doesn't seem like a second-year player to me. He seems like he's got good head on his shoulders, and it seems like he's, a veteran at this point." So, and Aaron Rodgers loves peppering his wide receiver 1 with targets. If he likes them,
yep,
it's game on.
I mean, it could go crazy. I mean, that's the thing. I'm with you. And right now, Garrett Wilson's going at 19.8. He's going as the wide receiver 10 in redraft right now. So, I mean, that's good value in the second round, especially if you're just picking on upside. I mean, I would reach a little bit, old Garrett Wilson. Now that I'm thinking, I know, man, I'm telling you, it's tough, man. It's tough. It's like I buy into Garrett Wilson could go up there and have those top receiving years, end up in that top four. It's just I don't know if I buy into the Jets all the way. I mean, they're the Jets, Kraft. The Jets, man. You know what I'm saying? It's like Brett Favre went to the Jets. Like this is just what the Jets do. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't even know if Aaron Rodgers is going to be the same. He didn't really look like the old Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he looked like he had took a step back a little bit last year. But it could be because that he didn't have Devontae Adams and stuff like that. I mean, there's many factors of why it didn't work out as good last year in Green Bay. So,
Yeah.
rejuvenate. That's why I'm buying in. I feel like this man might be rejuvenated. Went out into the darkness, ate them shrooms, came back, took a pay cut, and here we are.
Yeah, I mean, Garrett Wilson last year, he had 147 targets, only caught 83 of them because of his quarterback play. Stephon Diggs had 156 targets, he caught 110 of them. So you tell me that Garrett Wilson could have 20, 30 more receptions this year. He was a wide receiver 21 last year with Zach Wilson. So, you're drafting him as a wide receiver 10 with Aaron Rodgers there. I just don't see a way that he finishes. He's going to return on ADP, in my opinion. I think he has the upside to be, top 3. So I'm taking him as my wide receiver 1 over Amon-Ra because we know what Amon-Ra is. He's a PPR god. He's a sun god. He's great, but if you had to tell me I had to pick one out of the two, I'm gonna pick Garrett Wilson.
So next, we'll just go ahead and move on to him. Amon-Ra, I got him at 8. You got him at 9, or where you got him, Kraft?
I got him at 10.
Got him at 10. So I got Amon-Ra, and basically Amon-Ra finished as the wide receiver 7 last year. And really, here's my worries about Amon-Ra: is if everything was just great last year for Detroit, I could see Amon-Ra. I see on the bird or whatever. People saying this dude could have a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 season. I don't buy into that, but I think he could have a good year. But I could see him being a little bit less about Detroit, taking a step back. But here's the thing, man. This is the reason. The formula just checks out for Detroit, man. Uh, their defense is sorry, and Amon-Ra is going to get a lot of. He's going to get a lot of targets. Jameson Williams, he just does not scare me even a little bit. Even with his suspension and stuff like that. I mean, it's getting to the point with him that we're gonna have to start seeing this dude on the field, or I'm gonna have to start trashing him like I do Trey Lance every now and then.
Kadarius Toney. He's becoming Kadarius Toney.
Stuff like that. People are also fading Amon-Ra because they bring in Jahmyr Gibbs. He's gonna bring in some targets, but I mean, that could be possible. But all I know is this: he's got a rapport with Jared Goff, and Jared Goff, he doesn't strike me for as a great down the field thrower, and he's going to keep throwing it to his guy running short routes and mid-range routes. So here's the targets right here. He had 12, 12, 9, 10, 9, 11, 8, 10, 12. I mean, we're talking about target after target. So yeah, this is a PPR move right here. This one's a little more safe. We've talked about it before, but basically that's the decision you're making. If you're picking between guys like Amon-Ra and Garrett Wilson, who are back-to-back in ADP, Amon-Ra maybe a little more safer, getting all these targets, PPR, Garrett Wilson with the high upside. Because Amon-Ra clearly doesn't have the upside as Garrett Wilson, but if Amon-Ra finished ahead of Garrett Wilson this next season, I wouldn't be surprised even a little bit.
No, I wouldn't be surprised. And in full PPR, I would look his way a little bit more. He missed. How many games did he play last year? I know he missed a couple.
Let me look real quick. I was just on it. He missed. I don't know. I don't think he missed. Oh, missed one game versus Seattle, Week 4 is what it looks like.
Okay. Well, like you said, still finished as a wide receiver 7, but he
came
just
out real quick, Kraft. I want to say it looks like he might have came out in weeks 5 and 7 because he only had played 32% of the snaps in 17.
Yeah, I knew he was a little banged up there for a minute, but he just reminds me of Keenan Allen's trajectory. That's what Amon-Ra reminds me of. Keenan Allen through 2021 and 2017, he was wide receiver 10, 14, 6, 12, and 3. And I just feel like that's what you're going to get out of Amon-Ra. It's going to be, 10 to, or about 14 to 7 or something like that. I really like him, though. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He mentions all the receivers that were drafted ahead of him every time he gets a chance. And he's just a great receiver. If you see anything out of camp, Jared Goff's just putting it on the money to Amon-Ra. And I'm with you on Jameson. I've been pretty high on him. But when he comes back, I don't think it's going to take anything off of Amon-Ra. Like, he's going to be fine. I know episode we did a long time before the Jameson Williams suspension. I was really high on Jameson and down on Amon-Ra, but things have changed, and he's gonna be he'll be fine right there in the early to mid second round in your drafts.
All right, let's talk about. I'm just pretty much going through ADP right here. Jalen Waddle, I got him at 10. Where you got Jalen Waddle, Kraft man?
All the way down at 11.
So we right here in the same range. He finished as a wide receiver 8 last year. And really he tailed off on the back half of the year when he pretty much suffered when Tua went down. I'm looking at his game log right now. It don't look like Tyreek Hill's, I'll say that.
No,
But
he
Jalen
really
Waddle's
did suffer when Skylar Thompson came in because I had him last year and he was unstartable when Skylar Thompson was in.
yeah, definitely had some weeks like 11, 1 point, 4 points. He was pretty decent in your fantasy playoffs, but then he shit the bed in your championship game if you had him in the championship. Yeah, Jalen Waddle, I mean, he's just another guy super fast up there with Tyreek Hill. Great. This is a great duo right here. I'm starting to buy into everything Dolphins. I mean, we was already doing it anyways, talking about Jalen Waddle's going high, Tyreek Hill's going high, so you probably should draft Tua. I'm with it all the way. Jalen Waddle's going at 20.8. Him just being, I don't really care if you're the second guy on the team or whatever, but him being the second guy to Tyreek Hill is the reason why I don't put him. He's not in the same tier with Garrett Wilson or Amon-Ra to me, but he's still right there. And I don't really have too many fears because I'm just expecting Tua to be healthy this year. So I don't really have any fear. I mean, I kind of have him in a little tier with, this tier was a little bit bigger, but I was Waddle, Olave, T. Higgins, Devontae Smith, kind of like in that little tier right there, and I decided to put Waddle at the top of that.
Yep.
What you think, Crab?
I mean, the main reason I feel like he's at the top of that list in the wide receiver 2 category is he led the league in yards per reception at 18 yards per reception. He's just a different kind of player than you got with like Devontae Smith or T. Higgins. I mean, he's just a game breaker, and he'll just put up some game-winning weeks for you. As long as Tua is there, everything's going to be fine with Waddle. He only had 75 receptions last year, finished as a wide receiver 8. So it just doesn't take that much. And what's crazy with Waddle is he averaged 18 yards per reception last year. And the year before, when he was the main guy before Tyreek got there, he was really just a PPR guy.
Yeah.
And, things changed. He averaged 9 yards per reception before Tyreek got there. It doubled once he arrived. So, it's just a different player. He's used the way he should have been. When he was at Alabama, he was a big play guy. And he's just a great overall receiver. I mean, look at the Madden ratings. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle both got 99 speed.
Yeah. Shoot, they fast over there. I remember when what was that? They put all these nicknames. Oh, I can't even remember, but they had Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and then had Chase Edmonds.
Yeah,
talking about how the Dolphins are super fast. I can't remember what it was.
Raheem Mostert was like a 95 or something crazy. No, it was Devon A-Chain was a 96 speed on that game.
Yeah, real quick, Crab, I just want to ask you buying this Devon A-Chain?
Man, I think he's going to be great for the Dolphins, but I don't know if he's going to be great for fantasy. I'd take the chance on him though. Like if the 49ers really Mostert's kind of undersized,
Yeah,
and if they give him 15 carries a game, then hell yeah. But I just don't. I don't know if
yeah.
they're going to give him that kind of work.
I'm with you on that. All right, let's move on to Chris Olave. I got him at 11. Where you got him, Kraft man?
They got him at 12. This is another one of them, sophomore receivers that you just in fantasy football. It's kind of like a cheat. It's cheat code. You
Yeah.
get the second year receivers who broke out in their rookie year because things just go up from there. And I like the quarterback. I like Derek Carr coming in there. He's not great at maybe NFL football, but he supports wide receiver ones, and he's done it for years and years and years.
Yep, I said earlier, remember that target? When we looked at Devontae Adams, I was like, look at the amount of targets this man's getting, because Olave, when he was coming out for his rookie year, a lot of people were saying he was the most NFL ready. And I believe that. He probably really was. Chris Olave was down there having success with the Saints, and they had a shit show at quarterback. They had, Andy Dalton and
Jameis
who else?
Winston.
Jameis Winston. They had all that going on, and he still had a nice little rookie year. It's like you said, Derek Carr comes in, and gets an upgrade at quarterback, and I think when you think of the upside of Olave, you're just thinking Derek Carr could possibly be targeting Chris Olave like he was Devontae Adams or Amari Cooper or whoever Derek Carr's played with in the past. So Olave, when you look at his skill set, upgrade at quarterback, he was a little banged up last year, but other than that, I'm all in on Chris Olave at 11 though. All in at 11.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
ADP is 28 right now, so you can get him into third.
yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that all day. But I just remember watching some of the Saints games, and I would see, they got the camera angle at the quarterback, and then they throw it to Chris Olave, and I'm like, where the fuck is the nearest defender? Where the hell is he? Like, he's just like when he came out of college, they said he was the best route runner in the class, and it really showed out. And he's still got he's not one of them guys that you're like, oh, he's just a great route runner. He's still got like 4.4 speed.
Yeah.
He's a crazy good athlete, and he's not undersized for a receiver. He's just right, man. Like Justin Jefferson size. He's gonna be great. And this is one of the receivers that I like to take my shot on of having a major breakout year and just being, top 5, top 8. I can see it.
Any debate, Chris Olave going ahead of Waddle? That was one that I kind of thought about, and I decided to go with Waddle. But just because I know Waddle, if you consider what he did last year, and we've seen it before, Olave's still got to do it. But any debate for it?
I mean, not really much of a debate. I think just take whoever you want at that point. They're so close. They're one ranking apart for me. So it's up to you. Really, I mean, if you're scared off Tua, I guess maybe go Olave. But we're
Yeah,
at this podcast, we're not. So
we no all in on Tua. All right. Who you got at 13, Crab Man?
I got Keenan Allen. This is probably the first one.
Woo!
This is probably the
Spicy.
first one that I think might be a little spicy. I got him over. Everybody loves Devontae Smith and T Higgins, but I got Keenan Allen back up there. I'm a major believer in Justin Herbert this year, and Keenan Allen is just great. And I don't think that he's too old yet. I'll give him one more year. I don't think he's too old yet. He had a hamstring injury that held him back pretty much the whole first half of last year. But I know if you listen to a lot of podcasts, you probably heard this stat a lot. But like in the last 5 weeks of the year, he was a wide receiver 4. So
Yep.
he's going to get the targets. It's going to happen. Justin Herbert and him have a connection. He's not a big play guy by any means, but I mean he's a little discount Amon-Ra to me.
Yep. Starting at week 11, Keenan Allen basically didn't see no lower. He saw 6 targets one game. After that, pretty much 8 targets and above. And it's like you said. I mean, I've said it a bunch of times. I'm all in on what they're about to do with the Chargers this year. My thing is, I just didn't know where to rank these motherfuckers. Like, I don't know. Like Keenan Allen. I mean, he's a little bit too like where you got is a little too high for me. But
Yeah.
it's like who else? What else am I gonna do? Am I gonna put Mike Williams up in there? Like probably not. Do I believe I think Quentin Johnson's gonna be good, but am I gonna throw him up that high? So to me, well, the case you just made is I got Keenan Allen too low. I got him at 21,
Yeah.
and that feels too low to me. But at ADP, he's going at 17 right now, 39.4, and you're right. I mean, wide receiver 4 at the end of the year. And look, Kellen Moore headed on over there. I've been all in on Justin Herbert. I'm all in on the offense. I mean, if anything, with those targets he got, he might get more, which is crazy to say because in some of them games he got
Yeah.
like 14 targets, but he could get more targets. So
Yeah, he
I'm with
could.
you.
And Kellen Moore has succeeded with slot receivers. And
Yeah.
Keenan Allen at this stage in his career is a slot guy. I mean, he worked with CeeDee Lamb, who ended up being great. So, I mean, when we do these rankings, it's not saying that, hey, you should take this guy over like Devontae
Right.
Smith at the same place. Keenan Allen's going in the 4th round. Devontae Smith and T. Higgins are going in the 2nd. So play the ADP game, maybe pass on them guys if you want to, go with my rankings. If you disagree, that's all good too. But I would rather have Keenan Allen in the 4th round than Devontae Smith or T. Higgins in the 2nd round.
Mm. That's a good argument right there, Kraft, man. You got me sold. I'm going to be moving Keenan Allen up in my rankings, no doubt about it. So let's just move on. Let's talk about old Devontae Smith. That's where I got him at 13. Where you got Devontae Smith at?
I got him at 15.
All right, here's my deal with Devontae Smith. I just want to say this because I feel like I'm breaking him too low right here. I mean, I'm high on Devontae Smith. I think the only thing holding me back is AJ Brown. I'm just being honest. If it's like I said, I was talking about a tier with Jalen Waddle, Olave, Devontae up in there too. Higgins up in there, but to me, pure wide receiver wise, I think Devontae Smith is the best wide receiver of those guys I just said right there. I think Devontae. I mean, the
Yeah.
man won a Heisman Trophy. I mean, I don't really see too many wide receivers doing that shit.
He's
Devontae
just
Smith is.
small, man. He's just so small, Matt.
Hey, this dude. It would not surprise me at all if he out targeted AJ Brown and he had top 7 or 8 year, something like that. I mean, I'm high on Devontae Smith. Always wide open. Just good as fuck. That's all I can say about Devontae Smith. He
Yeah.
was good as fuck. And last year he finished as the wide receiver 9 in half PPR. I mean,
And in
it's
full
just
PPR.
and in full PPR. So yeah, I mean he had a bunch of games, especially in that back half of the year. Starting from week 10 is 8, no less than 8 targets in the back half of the year. We're talking about 8, 9, 8, 9, 8, 8, 8, 8, 12, 13.
But guess who was out for a lot of that stretch?
Dallas Goddard.
Yep.
So I don't know. Is that your argument right there? Because I don't disagree that Dallas Goddard he will be part of the offense like that. Philadelphia they actually run plays for Dallas Goddard every now and then. That's why I always view him as a
Yeah.
safe tight end. But I mean, I don't know, man. It feels nasty that I got him down here at 13. I really want to put him higher, but AJ Brown being there, like you said, Dallas Goddard was out for a stretch of time. I love me some Devontae Smith.
I do too, but I'm gonna just say one thing about Dallas Goddard. Do you know what his touchdown number is? The over under is for the year
Mm-mm.
3.5.
Woo-hoo, man, smash that. I mean, sheesh, that's easy money.
3.5. I heard that on the podcast the other day. I was like, damn. But Dallas Goddard, it seems like he's a red zone threat, but he only averages about 3 touchdowns a year in his years in the league. So the Vegas knows
Dang.
what they're doing. But back to Devontae Smith, he had 7 touchdowns last year, 1,196 yards, 12 yards per reception. He did have more receptions than A.J. Brown, but the main thing is A.J. Brown's just a big play guy. 17 yards a reception for A.J. Brown. So I don't think it's disrespectful to have him at 15. I really like Devontae Smith. It's just he's the number 2 in the offense, so that kind of limits his upside. He's been the wide receiver 1 before. With it was just a totally different team
Yeah.
back then, so really can't compare that. But you know, his upside just isn't quite there for me that I see. Like I said, I'd just rather take Keenan Allen a little later. But Devontae Smith, I'm out on his ADP. I'm also out on T. Higgins at ADP because I think they're both getting drafted at their ceiling, and I'm just passing on them guys. But I really like the talents and great NFL receivers, great to watch. But that's just not the type of guys I'm trying to draft in the second round.
Devontae Smith's ADP right now is 31.5, and he is the 14th wide receiver off the board. So he's going around guys like T. Higgins, who you said you're out on. DK,
Yeah,
we'll talk about him in a sec. We'll talk about Higgins too, but yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I literally have not picked Devontae in anything that I've drafted. Any best balls, he just is never right there where I can get him.
because the
So,
upside just isn't. The upside really isn't there. Like this is not one of them guys that you're like, oh, I can see him finishing in the top 5.
well, you say that, but I can't say him top 5. But if you told me top 10, I could
I
see
mean,
that.
Jalen Waddle was wide receiver 8 last year
Yeah,
with 1,300 yards, averaging 18 yards per reception. So I mean, he's not that kind of player who's gonna break the game wide open, and he's just smooth as hell. You
yeah.
know, he's like him and Chris Olave remind me a lot of each other. They're just always
Hmm.
open. They're great. They just know the game.
Let's talk about another wide receiver too. We've talked about Waddle. We talked about Smith. Let's talk about T. Higgins, who you just said you're out on at ADP, who is going 29.8. So kind of beginning of the third, beginning of the middle. Wide receiver 13, in between Olave and Devontae Smith. T. Higgins, you know, heck, T. Higgins is awesome, but he's just tied to what you call it. He's tied to Jamar Chase. I'm not, I mean, heck, which is no reason to fade him, but I mean, I got him at 15. Let me look at his history. He's finished in PPR, he's finished at 18, 24. So he's finished no higher than 18. So I definitely see why you're out on him because he's never even finished where his ADP has him right now.
And
And I
where's that
know
at again? His ADP, wide
his
receiver
AD,
13.
yep, wide receiver 13, and he finished 18 last year. And I know he had those games where he played a snap and came out or something, stuff like that was crazy. I mean, so yeah, I understand it, and I got him at 15, which is even above his highest finish. To me, 15 is like the middle of what we're talking about. His highest finish, his ADP, because he would have finished a little bit higher if he would have played those games last year, I think. So 15 to me is like where he's at. But I'm gonna be real. That the way you were saying about Devontae Smith is what I was saying about thinking about T. Higgins. And I'm a Clemson guy. I love T. Higgins. I don't even see him with the upside to crack the top 10. So,
Jamar
I
Chase missed a couple games last year, also. So you can make the argument that T Higgins had a couple missed games or low snap counts, but Jamar Chase missed a couple games too. And if Jamar Chase plays all year and does what we expect him to do, so you can make that argument too that T Higgins might not have that kind of opportunity either.
yeah. So to me, it's just like this is where he's at. Like I don't mind drafting T. Higgins, but I want T. Higgins to fall to me to a certain point. Like, but the thing is he's not going to fall because I don't think people are going to draft. Like DK. I don't think people are going to draft DK over T. Higgins or Debo
Yeah.
Samuel. Keenan Allen, I feel like you would. Heck, I might would too now. Shit. Amari Cooper. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, T. Higgins is just right there. Not a bad pick, but I don't know. It's kind of like what you were saying with Devontae. That's just kind of how I feel with T. Higgins.
Yeah, and I mean it's just the ADP. He's going like we said, the wide receiver 13. I mean you can get Amari Cooper in the fourth round also with Keenan Allen. So if I know you believe Deshaun Watson's going to take a step up. I would rather draft Amari Cooper in the fourth, the fifth round, close to the fifth round, rather than I would take the chance on, or not even take the chance because he is safe. That is one. I think that's the reason where he's at, just because he's safe.
Right.
And you got Joe Burrow, and he's going to be fine. But I don't think you're going to get the return on ADP. If I'm drafting somebody in like the second and early third round, I want somebody who could like win me the league. We're still in that area where you got some great players and just some really high upside players that have still pretty good safety. So I would take I'd still take like a Brees Hall or something like that over T Higgins,
Yeah.
something like that. Some guy that could just blow up and win me the league.
Well, shoot, crap. I'm really just going by ADP right here. Next on the list, we got DK Metcalf. I got DK at 14. Where you got DK Metcalf?
At 16.
This is pretty much where I had him last year in that same range. No. I might be wrong about that. I might have faded DK. I can't even remember. I'm gonna have to start looking at my stuff in the past. I might have faded DK. I know I had Tyler Lockett outside like my top 36. But DK Metcalf at 14. I'll just be completely honest with you, Kraft. I'm not really. I've done a lot of best ball mock drafts. I haven't really drafted any wide receivers in this range that we're talking about right here. Even with Devontae Smith, even as far up as like Chris Olave through Debo, Amari Cooper, even D Hop. I'm talking about. I haven't drafted any wide receivers in that range, so I've been kind of avoiding them anyways. But DK Metcalf, Geno Smith. I mean, I think DK finished last year as the wide receiver 14. That might be what I was thinking. If that's right.
Yeah, he was wide receiver 16 last year. But a couple things I got to say about DK is he had 27 red zone targets last year. Only had 6 touchdowns last year. So that number, he is just like the prime candidate for touchdown progression, or what do they like to say, positive regression? I just say progression, but that's the reason I got him ranked where he's at. He finished right around where I got him ranked, and I just see there's a chance where he gets back up to that elite number of touchdowns. I wouldn't be surprised if he was the touchdown leader in the wide receiver category next year. So,
Yeah.
15 touchdowns, 12 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns just doesn't sound right for a guy who had 27 red zone targets.
Yeah, and just to go along with that, Geno Smith was targeting DK like crazy. I mean, a bunch of games with double-digit targets, 12, 10, 15, 10, 9, 9. I mean, DK, basically, I was thinking DK, his upside is a little bit capped, in my opinion, because although I like Geno Smith, and he was very good last year, especially for his standards. I mean, he was a huge bust all those years, but here he is now. What you call it? DK, you're right. I could just see him scoring a lot of touchdowns, but his upside is just capped. He doesn't really ever finish as a wide receiver 1 like that. So we'll just have to see about old DK. I don't know. The offense just doesn't feel too good to me. I just don't know what to even say about the Seattle Seahawks right now, Kraft, if I'm just being honest. The offense, as solid as it was last year, and Geno Smith was supporting 2 wide receivers. It's just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. It just feels a little capped to me. But you're right. He could score more touchdowns, which feels like he could be right there at 14 where I got him.
Yeah, I don't see him having a bad year. He'll be just fine. But like you said, you're kind of avoiding receivers in that range. I've kind of taken the same approach because I don't really see much of a difference between I got DK at 16, I got Marquise Brown at 22, Calvin Ridley 26. Tyler Lockett outperforms DK year after year, and I got Tyler Lockett at wide receiver 27. So, it's just there's a sweet spot for wide receivers. I feel like in this this year's draft. So, it's just really not a place that I've been taking, receivers unless it's Keenan Allen in the 4th round.
Right, man. Let's just move on to your guy, Amari Cooper. I got him at 17. I think you got him at 17 too, right? Is that correct?
The man who should not be rostered at
The,
wide receiver 17.
Amari Cooper's ADP is at 18, so we're literally right here. Kind of got him where, I guess last year where did he finish? He was a wide receiver 1 last year. Is that right?
Yeah.
Or okay,
Wide,
and that was with him being good with Jacoby Brissett, and then I think he took a step back with Deshaun Watson. Yep, you're right. You said he shouldn't be rostered last year, but here's the thing, man. I haven't ever stepped away from it. I wasn't saying he shouldn't be rostered, but I was with you. Like I was not buying into Amari Cooper even a little bit. But this year I do believe that the Browns are going to take a step up. I know a lot of people don't. I know a lot of people don't want it. I want it, man. I want Deshaun Watson to just, man, everybody just be mad about it. Just makes me giggle inside. But here's my thing. I kind of buy into Elijah Moore a little bit, to be honest with you, Kraft.
we might be talking about him on another episode.
Yep. So, I'm not gonna sit here and act like Amari Cooper's gonna be a wide receiver 1. I don't buy it. I ain't ever bought it. I didn't buy it last year. I don't know what the hell we was watching last year. So 18 is his ADP. 17 for me. So I got him a little bit above, but what you got to say about old Amari Cooper? Just as steady as ever, though.
I wouldn't say steady. That's not the word I would use for Amari Cooper. I mean, it was like a roller coaster with him last year. It was like, man, I was right. Amari Cooper sucks. Oh, never mind, I was wrong. Amari Cooper's great. He finished as a wide receiver 4. Like when I say wide receiver 4, I'm not talking about the number 4. I'm talking about outside of the top. What would that be? 48.
Yeah.
So he finished outside of the top 48 at 41% last year.
Woo.
41% of his games he finished outside of the wide receiver 48. But he had some really good games. He was he was a wide receiver 1 in 35% of them games. So it was just like steady's not the word for Amari Cooper. I do think the consistency will go up a little bit more this year, but if Deshaun Watson's going to come back to his old self, he made Will Fuller look really good, and I don't know where the hell he's at in the league anymore. Right. So, Amari Cooper, he's always been pretty good throughout his years. I mean, he's never really had a terrible year. It's just kind of durability with him. He's been off the field a little bit, but he's one of them higher upside guys that I would like to take, in them that like 5th round range. So I got him ranked accordingly, and I actually got him above ADP. So, that's saying something. That's saying I had to bite the bullet. I didn't just have to bite the bullet. I had to take the bullet in the forehead, and it had to come down and, go through my brain and everything else on that one.
Crap, I'm just kind of jumping around name to name, so I know we're going to have different names. So if there's names you need to go, you can just go ahead and throw them on out there if you want to. But the next guy I'm going to talk about is Deebo Samuel. I got him at 16, literally right where his ADP is. Look, Crap, man, I've gone back and forth for Deebo, man. I remember we did an episode maybe at the end of the year last year, and I was saying to myself, I could definitely see Deebo having a top 12 year again. Maybe not this year, but throughout his career, I could definitely see him doing it again. Because when you watch Deebo, he's just so damn good. He was a little banged up last year. He's even said it himself. He came in a little fat, a little overweight because he's, with the contract negotiations and stuff like that, but he is paid and stuff like that. Later on, I was like, man, I don't know, man. I just don't know. Debo, it might not happen. It might not work. But I'm kind of back in on it now. I got him at 16. I don't know if he'll have another top 12 year, but I think he'll be a good wide receiver too. Debo, I'll put it like this. He's going to have Debo Samuel games where he goes off. He's going to have games where he might not even be a factor in the offense, so I think. Or, well, he'll be a factor, but he ain't going to have good fantasy games is what I'm saying. Christian McCaffrey's going to be the focal point of this offense. George Kittle's still in the building, and him and Brock Purdy were cooking last year. Brandon Ayuk's up there. Just a loaded 49ers team, really. Loaded with weapons.
This is one of them guys you just got to believe in the talent,
Yeah.
and Debo's got the talent. He really is probably in top 5 for me and just players to watch because it looks like, before the game, he just gets slathered in butter. Nobody can fucking tackle him. And he makes the most money on this team, on this offense. So, that's really the reason I mean, it sounds dumb, but it's the reason I got him ranked so high is because there is politics in NFL.
Big
And
time.
when you got a great player and you got a player who's making that amount of money, he's gonna get manufactured touches, and Debo can break 10 tackles and get into the end zone on any given play. So, he's just I'm just betting on the talent with Debo.
Yep. I mean, that's literally my argument. It's just a man. He's just a man amongst boys out there. There's no doubt about it. And the offense is still gonna be smooth. I just think it's a crowded team. But other than that, there's really not much to say. I've gone back and forth on Debo, but this is where I stand. Wide receiver 16. We're still in that area where I haven't drafted any of these receivers really in best ball and stuff like that. So, it's tough. Throw me another name out there, Kraft man. I know we're getting in some different rankings and stuff. I know you probably got some names up in there.
Well, before we move on to Debo, would you rather have Debo in the 4th round, or would you rather have Brandon Ayuk in the 6th round, 7th round?
I don't know, man. I'm gonna be honest. I've been avoiding every 49er in the book, except for CMC, obviously.
Yeah,
But I'd probably just say Brandon Ayuk. You can get him cheaper, and he might have.
a
Man,
similar year.
it's tough, man. It's crazy because what'd you say in the 7th round? Like, there's just other guys that I've been picking that I like to get that just for upside purposes, but that's a tough one.
That's kind of in that wide receiver range that I like, though, that
Yeah.
Brandon Ayuk range. So I've been picking receivers there, but yeah, it's
Yep.
if you really what you just told me is that you can't see that much of a difference between the two, right?
Well, I mean, I just think when I'm just going through a draft board and stuff like that, there's just like I'm snagging some running backs in the 4th and stuff like that. Like I think Debo is better, and I think he'll probably finish high. I think he will finish higher, but
Well, let's put it to the test.
yeah, put it to the test.
Debo's ADP is at 38. Um, let's see here. Jahmyr Gibbs, 36, ADP 36.
See, I'm definitely taking Jahmyr Gibbs if he falls to me and stuff.
Joe Mixon and Aaron Jones.
I'm not doing Joe Mixon, but I'm doing Aaron Jones all day. That little pocket with Aaron Jones, Miles Sanders, Dobbins, somebody
So you
else
take
in there.
Miles Sanders and Dobbins over Debo also?
Yep, that's my favorite pocket to pick them running backs if I can.
Yeah. I agree with you too. I mean, what I say his ADP
I
was Debo's ADP was at 38. Miles Sanders' ADP is at 50.
I know. I mean, it's crazy. I saw Miles Sanders fall to the 7th. Somebody was posting that shit. I was like, hell no, I can't believe that.
I would probably take Miles Sanders over Debo straight up if they had the same ADP.
Yeah, I would too. But me and you also higher than the average. This is a Miles Sanders, Tua Tagovailoa. Who else? We're gonna have to do episodes of
I
just
mean,
our guys.
not just that. I mean, at ADP of 38, you could get Justin Fields, Justin Herbert. You can get
Yeah,
them quarterbacks right there also, and that's the sweet range for quarterbacks. So, I would definitely. There's not a doubt in my mind that I would try to take one of them quarterbacks to stabilize my team rather than take the chance that Debo has, 8 good games on the year with that offense.
agreed. So
I still
where
like him
me, I
though.
was about to say where me and Craftman stand is we like Debo Samuel. It's just in that pocket where we see value in other areas. Um, all right, Craftman, throw us a name out there, man.
I mean, we can go ahead and name off a couple, but you want to just try to hit, a couple highlights where you got some of these guys ranked, like maybe Michael Pittman. He's going really
Yeah.
early, and me and you were both completely out on Michael Pittman.
Yeah, I was definitely wanting to say there's a few names because I only got my top 24 right here in front of me. There's a few names that Michael Pittman, he is not on my list. He's not even in my top 36. D Hop, he's not in my top 24. Michael Pittman, you know where I stand, Craftman. I'm fading everything Colts right now. I've even faded JT a little bit. Think he was going higher and stuff. Even before all this, he was going high. Even if you buy into Anthony Richardson, you buying into his rushing upside. You're not buying into his passing. There's no way that he's just. I mean, Michael Pittman, what was it? All those receptions with the least amount of yards. So basically, he's a PPR guy. So are you expecting me to think Anthony Richardson, who I actually watched this dude film and I actually watched him play in college, he's just going to be pinpointing Michael Pittman around the yard? I mean,
Yeah,
I don't even buy that. I don't even slightly buy that.
yeah. Michael Pittman had 141 targets last year,
Okay.
and he finished as the wide receiver 20 and only had 925 yards. He averaged nine yards per reception. That's really not what I think of when I think of Michael Pittman. I see him more like a 12, to 15 yard reception type of guy. He would, that offense was just absolutely terrible last year. But I mean, I got Pittman. You know, shit. Let's see if I can even find him. He's a wide receiver 38 for me. He's behind Gabe
Nice.
Davis. He's behind Gabe Davis for me. So, I mean, you could
Mhm.
call us crazy, and this might be the Tyreek Hill situation. This might be my Amari Cooper situation of last year where I said he shouldn't be rostered. But, like you said, Anthony Richardson, he probably is not going to throw for over 2,500 yards this year. I would feel much better if Gardner Minshew was the quarterback all year. Michael Pittman might be up there like wide receiver 24 or something like
Yeah.
that if I thought Minshew was going to be there. But there's going to be some struggles with Richardson, and I just don't. I
Yeah.
don't see it happening. The targets were there last year. I mean, we were right on that category. We thought he was going to be the main guy, and he was, but just didn't equate to anything.
Yeah. Um, uh, Next, D Hop, we were talking about him. His ADP was in that pocket where I don't like players. He's going 20th. I don't got him in my top 24, and I said it. We talked about the news a few episodes ago. I just don't like D Hop to the Titans. I don't think it's. I don't know, man. Like I haven't fallen off of Traylon Burks. I felt like he needed another receiver up in there to help him out. D Hop, I just don't like it. I mean, he's just. I've been calling for the Tennessee Titans' demise for a little while, and it kind of came into fruition last year, but they don't want to give it up. So they're going right back at it again. They bring D Hop in the building, and I just don't see him finishing. I don't see him finishing in this ADP. Like, I mean, he's going ahead of guys that I'm not even that high on. Like, I'm not really too high on DJ Moore. I'm not high on Jerry Judy. I would take those guys over D Hop all day. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I really didn't think I was out on D Hop until I did my rankings, and I got him lower than you. I got him at wide receiver 29. So, and it's nothing against D Hop. I just feel like this offense doesn't really support the things that he does. They're a real run heavy offense. They're a play action, deep threat kind of offense, and not just a short passing game type of offense, which I think D Hop succeeds in, where he could just be a target hog and, you know, do the Keenan Allen thing, you know, just eat up targets and 9 yards of reception, just keep eating. But this isn't the type of offense I think he fits in. I think it's good for the Titans. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's good for that team, and I wouldn't be surprised if they won that division this year. But, you know, from a fantasy perspective, Derrick Henry's going to do his thing, and Treylon Burks is going to – I think he's going to be all right. And D-Hop just, you know – I think my wide receiver 29 rankings might be too low, but when I look at the guys above him, I just don't know. I mean, would you take Brandon Ayuk or D-Hop?
Man. That's fucking tough, man. I don't know, man. I guess I might would go D-Hop. But that one's...
What about Christian Watson?
I'd go Christian Watson over D-Hop.
Tyler Lockett?
I'd go Tyler Lockett over D-Hop.
Christian Kirk.
Yeah, that one, yeah, definitely.
These are the guys I got ranked ahead of them, so it just kind of fell like that. Marquise Brown, would you take him over D-Hop?
Man, I think I'd go D-Hop. You know I'm a Marquise Brown guy, but I done faded him out the whole damn... I don't know, man. I just started to just laugh and giggle at the Cardinals, what they got going on up there right now. So I don't know. At first, I was kind of in on it. I was like, man, he ain't going to have no competition up there. This dude's going to be just... But I don't know now, man. I just think the Cardinals really are about to be going. But unless Kyler Murray comes back for the back half of the season, which I really do think will happen, and then I could see Marquise Brown having a good back half of the year. Any names you want to bring up, Craftman?
Man, I mean, I got a lot of names that I want to bring up, but you know, I'm starting to think, you know, let's try to break this up into two. We'll just give y'all maybe a little short episode of some just some quick names that we like and some that we don't like, because, you know, when it comes to wide receivers, these guys in this range are some of the guys that can win you the league. So we want to give, you know, the best perspective on them as we could possibly get. So, you know, we might come out with another little wide receiver episode here, and it'll just be like some guys that we're high on and some guys that we like.
Do like little sleeper wide receiver episode. We'll do that with some running backs too. Well, heck, we'll probably do it with all of them. I don't even know what we're talking about. We'll probably do it all. But shoot, we're gonna wrap it on up, man. If you want to really see our rankings typed up or something, go follow us on Twitter. They're gonna be there. I just posted my running back rankings. We'll get Craftman to type his up at some point. I'll do my other positions at some point. You know, we ain't really the social media type of people, but we'll try to get them on out there for y'all. But with that said, people, thanks for listening to the podcast. We enjoy doing this shit. Give us that 5-star review. Craftman, anything to say?
I mean, we mentioned follow us on Twitter. You know, you got at Crew Matt Hamm, you got at Craftman Pack Fan. So follow us on Twitter. And just a rebuttal of what Matt said, you know, I appreciate everybody for listening and sticking with us all this time. You know, we doing our best, so, but we got football tomorrow. Football is tomorrow. It's preseason. It doesn't really count, but it's better than nothing.
Gotta survive the preseason, man. But thanks for listening. With that said, we are out.
Peace.